Welcome back to Kiesel News, everybody. Today, we have a special episode that is based entirely on the Xbox Games Showcase. Now, I obviously won't have the most detailed thoughts on every single game, and I didn't even have the time to watch the showcase, so I've just had to catch up. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I apologize if my thoughts aren't that detailed. First up, we have a new Gears of War game being a prequel set 14 years prior to the original. Starting off strong, I'd say, especially compared to Summer Game Fest, which I will get my thoughts on eventually. I'm working on a scripted video for it, and the PlayStation event as well. There was no real huge heavy hitters, but I'd say Gears of War is pretty heavy hitting. Next, we have a new Life is Strange game. I'd say this is probably the game that I'm most likely to pick up out of any of them, even though I've never tried any of the Life is Strange games. They seem very interesting. Anything with multiple realities and trippy timelines, I think, would be up my alley. I keep thinking that the next installment they always announce as the last one. Is that just like a Mandela effect that I'm experiencing? I feel like we get a new Life is Strange game announced every year, and every year it's like, oh, this is the last one of the trilogy or something. So, I don't know, but the game still looks good. Another big new game that got updates was Fable, and the interesting thing about this game is that, much like games like Detroit Become Human, or really anything that Quantum Dream makes, that's just what's coming to mind right now, is that it's heavily based on your choice. Also kind of like a visual novel. I also originally thought Fable was a new IP, but apparently it's not, as this is a new Fable game, implying that there has been ones in the past. So now I see why everyone is kind of going more nuts over it. I thought it was kind of weird that people were going nuts over a brand new IP with all this fanfare, but now it makes sense. Metal Gear has been going insane lately. So many announcements, both in the Nintendo Direct. I think it was even at the PlayStation event as well. Metal Gear is just absolutely everywhere. And I have to say, Snake Eater looks really fucking good. Especially visually, too. I mean, look at the image in the top left there. You can just see the sun reflecting. It's so beautiful. Now to address two rumors I've covered on Kiesel News before. The first being the Doom game being announced at the Xbox Showcase. And that was in fact true, and the game is in fact also coming to PlayStation 5 and Medieval. So we better keep track of that leaker, as they got basically every single detail right. I think the only thing they didn't get was that it was a prequel to the 2016 Doom. The second rumor was the one regarding Black Ops 6 dealing with 9/11, which was confirmed false today. This rumor was more so community speculation anyway, so we can't really pinpoint a leaker to be at fault, though. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl confuses me, as I don't see a stalker in any of these images. It's certainly not what I would expect from the title, but the interesting thing about it is that the developers are a Ukrainian company, and they've stated that they have increased the amount of Ukrainian dialogue in the game. Assassin's Creed Shadows was shown a new look. I'm not looking forward to the Ubisoft show. They're going to show even more in detail there. And it'll be a day on Twitter for sure, because this game can't go a day without having more controversy. Haters, I want you to roast the fuck out of me in the comments. When I first saw Adamfall, when I saw this image, I thought that the guy was in space, and the yellow suit was a spacesuit, resembling the one from Returnal. I've learned that this is not the case. It has nothing to do with space, and is instead a game very similar to Fallout that deals with the aftermath of a nuclear disaster. Seriously, if I were to read the synopsis, I would just think we were talking about Fallout 5 or something. But there's one thing that differentiates it from Fallout, which is that it's based on a real event that happened in 1957, a real nuclear disaster. So, I doubt Fallout is based on anything real, at least I hope not. Otherwise, that means they can see the fucking future. I really like Avowed's aesthetic. It's like a skeleton mixed with, like, Saw mixed with Terminator. That's what the face reminds me of. Although it sounds like your typical Xbox game, where you just go and you stop evil. Ooh, so interesting. The plot doesn't seem to have any real differences that would make it stand out from the rest of the crowd. The only semi-interesting detail that I can find is that it deals with a whole bunch of different factions. Wuchang Fallen Feathers actually seems pretty interesting. Probably one of my top games overall, because it has choice, like Fable, where you basically choose your own adventure and it'll lead you to a certain ending, and your main character has a disease that gives you power. Those sound like pretty intriguing story concepts, and it's a Souls-like. If it was just a Souls-like, yeah, that'd be whatever. We get Souls-likes all the time. But adding that on top of it, I'm sure this game will actually be successful. Especially with it coming in 2025, it means that they're really using extra time to cook. Next is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is set between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. So, the fact that we're getting a game that's set between films is honestly a great way for Disney to find a way to milk the franchise still. They know that people don't want anything after Dial of Destiny, they just want the franchise to rest, so they'll just do mid-equals instead. Maybe they'll pull a Star Wars so that we know every little detail between the films. It wouldn't be an Xbox event without Elder Scrolls Online. I think the most interesting thing about the announcement is Dexerto acting like the game is just releasing for the first time. Maybe they're more clueless on some of these games than I am. It also wouldn't be an Xbox showcase without Microsoft Flight Simulator. And just like FIFA, these games come out yearly. I don't understand this. It seems like game companies fucking love DLC now. Everything's getting expansion packs. This is the perfect reason to have an expansion pack, and you're passing up on the opportunity to just release a new game instead. Sure, you can charge more for a full game, but I guarantee you more people would buy this if it was an expansion rather than a full game. But hey, what do I know? If they're sticking with this strategy, it must be working. Look at FIFA once again. They keep doing it year after year after year after year. It never stops. So people must still keep buying yearly FIFAs, even though I don't know a single person who even buys one. Mixtape is certainly a nice change of pace from the usual game you see at the Xbox Showcase. And I mean, it obviously is seen as potentially successful enough to be able to afford some artists. I don't know any of the artists that are listed as part of the game, but they were able to get them. I assume they weren't just random people that they found on SoundCloud, but when I heard Frank Punk was a shooter, I almost lost my shit, because that is the only thing that I'm more tired of than all of the god-fighting games or anime games. I'm just sick of seeing constant shooters, but you use cards in this game, so there's actually a unique gimmick here, okay guys? It's fine. Winterboro, definitely giving off that Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon vibe. You're decorating your place, you're searching for materials. Definitely looks like a fun game, but one that I would give up after playing it for about a week. That's always what happens with games like Harvest Moon for me. The only one that I've been able to stick to for a long period of time is Animal Crossing. Definitely a good call to release it in winter 2025 though, or at least Q1, because it'll be likely winter in full swing here in Canada, and I'll just want to curl up and play this game. I know Kiesel News has had a recent trend of hating on Xbox lately, but I have to give it to them for this showcase. Out of all the ones that I watched or heard about, they are the ones who showed the most actual gameplay, it seems. I mean, Perfect Dark got 3 minutes. I don't think anything in Summer Game Fest got that long. And the interesting thing about Perfect Dark is that it's a reboot of the original game, but its story is entirely new. So it doesn't sound like it's a typical reboot like, for example, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot, where a lot of the same elements are basically just reshuffled. Like, oh, they fight Shredder and they stop Shredder, but they just do it in a bit of a different order. Whereas this, there's like entirely different story elements, while just having recurring elements from the original game. As for Age of Mythology Retold, it essentially just seems like an enhanced version of the original game from 2002, and just bears a similar visual style, similar mechanics. I assume it deals with gods of some kind. I'm sure it's not as good as something like God of War or whatever, but it's coming September 4th, so they're definitely not waiting that long to release it. Flintlock, not really much of a fan. It just seems like another game where you fight gods. Sick, awesome, just what we need. It doesn't even have a unique art style or nothing, just like, standard. That's one thing that Summer Game Fest and PlayStation have had over the Xbox Showcase, is that there was a lot more variety of art styles and genres, I would say. Sea of Thieves, new season, the amount of people excited for this, raise your hand please. No hands? Okay. I saw a lot of hype for State of Decay 3, and after watching the trailer, I understand why. The game looks absolutely polished as fuck. I'm not usually a huge fan of like your typical zombie or post-apocalyptic type of game, but this is an exception, man. For one, it actually looks like it has an interesting narrative, and it's not just a game like Back 4 Blood, for example, where you just fight the zombies and that's about it. There's more depth here, which I appreciate. And this praise is coming from someone who hasn't played the original 2 games. I can only imagine someone who's played the entire trilogy up to this point, how much more they got from this trailer. Next up, we have Dragon Age. Now, when I picture Dragon Age, I'm picturing one of those games that you see at every PlayStation showcase. That's just your average fantasy game where you're beating up gods or monsters, and that's what this game is, but the entire trailer was focused on the characters you meet, so at least there's a narrative here. It's not just the same thing over and over again. I do think they should have shown a bit of actual gameplay, though, not just the cinematic. Xbox really thinks people are going to start playing Starfield again? Ha. Hopefully that statement doesn't age poorly. Expedition 33 is apparently set in an area that is heavily based on France, So automatic F tier game if you've seen my school subjects tier list video where I say that I hate French class, so I automatically therefore hate this game. No, obviously not, but to be honest, it doesn't really look like anything special from what I've seen. Just, I don't have much to say regarding South of Midnight, aside from the fact that it has an alligator as a main focus, baby. You know what happened the last time an alligator crocodile was at the forefront of a game? Far Cry 6 with Guapo, baby. Far Cry 6 was legendary, therefore this game will be legendary. New World of Warcraft expansion. That's the start of a new saga. So World of Warcraft isn't ending anytime soon. I think this will really be the eternal game, it seems like. Really think about it, like what live service game has lasted as long as World of Warcraft? Like we're talking 20 plus years here. Lastly, Fallout 76 is getting a new update. It's great that we're getting something to go in tandem with the Fallout show and essentially ride on its hype. I don't know if they originally planned for the Fallout show to be as big as it was, but it should definitely boost sales for this though. If it was boosting sales for pre-existing content, I wonder how it'll do for new content. To be honest, as much as I hate to say it, I think Xbox had the best event so far. Even though I think Summer Game Fest had more that appealed to me personally, there was more overall heavy hitter franchises represented in this Xbox showcase. I guess they did take a W after all. Unless Nintendo steals it from them, which it very well could happen. I hope it happens. We really need a good Nintendo Direct. It's been so long since the last one.